Hello, it's Mr. C here again in the wood shop, going over now some drill press safety. But before I get started on that, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about videography. Yes, I'm a woodworker. I'm not a videographer. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create content for you during this COVID-19 pandemic, so that way you can go ahead and receive the information or the content of safety inside the shop before you go ahead and come on in. So what I'd like to do today is I'd like to go over the drill press that you'll be using here in the wood shop. So first thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to take off my regular glasses and put on my safety glasses. And as you know, before we go ahead and make any adjustments and start playing with the machine, essentially setting it up, I want to lock the power out. And on this machine, it's right back here is the power box. So I locked out the power here. I want to show you this. This is the chuck key. Yes, the chuck key is kind of attached, but whenever we're not using the chuck key, after we've gone ahead and tightened up a bit inside the chuck, we want to take this and bring this back and set this back here on the back side of here, so that way we'll never get tangled up inside of here. It's really important that you do that, okay? So for right now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to bring the chuck key out. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the chuck itself and how we put a new bit in for replacing it, okay? Now, for instance, this happens to be a traditional, regular 3/8 inch diameter wood drill bit, okay? So what I'm going to do is, by hand, I'm just going to go ahead and open this up. It's a little bit faster by hand. What I'm doing is I'm turning this portion of the chuck, and then I can slide this in. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab the chuck key, tighten this up, and I want to make sure I have it tightened down where all three jaws are touching the drill bit. And as I spin it, I'm going to look at it to make sure it's not wobbling, so that way it's centered and true. Now I'm going to take this chuck key, place it back here, and that way it's out of the way, okay? Now I have my table here, and on this side of the machine, I have a little lever. This lever tightens down this collar that will allow me to move the bed up or down, okay? And right now, I have this set where I want it to go this deep. I have a stop as far as the drill bit stops, so that way I can drill all the way down to here. That's about as far as I would want to go, let's say hypothetically, if I was drilling into something. But I can adjust this collar for the depth of cut, okay? Or the depth of the hole that I'm going to drill, all right? What I can do is on this collar, I loosen this up, I take this off, and that'll allow for me to spin this, and I can move this up and down depending on how far I need to drill into an object, okay? But I'm just going to take this and I'll place this back out here. All right, so I set this down like that. Now, one thing is I don't have to worry about this because I'm follically challenged, but if you happen to have really long hair, you want to make sure that you have your hair pulled back, put it in a rubber band, and tuck it in the back of the collar of your shirt. I can provide you with a rubber band that you can just keep. Just make sure that it stays on your hair and it doesn't go flinging around, okay? Because as you know, here in the shop, we do not let that happen. You cannot have rubber bands being shot across the room or anything else like that. So make sure you do not get removed from the program by doing something like that. It's just dangerous for everyone, okay? We want to avoid that, all right? So on here, I have put an auxiliary table, so that way if I did drill into it, I'm not drilling into the steel piece of the drill press, okay? So I have this basically sacrificial board here, okay? Now, I also have some clamps with me, so that way if I was drilling into something, I can clamp the material down to the surface of the drill press. It's really important to make sure that we have everything fastened down, so that way we don't have any problems with it coming off. And you want to make sure that you drill that spot, that hole, exactly where you intend to. So using clamps will help. And I have a piece of material here. As you can see, this is a pretty large piece of material, right? Now, if I have to drill on one end, let's say, I want to make sure that I have the longer end. The longer end is not on this side. And the reason for that is this. is this drill press, and remember, the power's off, is going to spin it and rotate in this direction like this. If I didn't have this clamped down, when I drill into this, it's possible that the material grabs onto the bit grabs onto the material, and you can swing this around and hit the operator, because the operator is always standing in front of the machine. Well, on this machine, we want to make sure that we have our material clamped down and the longer end is on the left side. That way, if the bit or the cutting tool, the cutter, grabs a hold of it, it'll swing it around and hit the post, it's not going to hit you. Okay? It's really, really important to make sure that you have that done. Now, for instance, if I was to drill this piece and I needed to drill my hole right here, what I do is I grab one parallel clamp. Well, how about this? I'm going to take, let's say hypothetically, I need to drill a hole where the X is right here, right? And I had to make a 3/8 inch hole. I would take this, place this down. I bring my bit down right to where the X is. I can lock this in place, it stays right there, okay? I take one clamp, place it on this side, take another parallel clamp, or hand screw clamp, depending on who manufactures it in the name. It's basically the same thing. Now let's say hypothetically I had to drill a hole a 1/2 inch deep. I can loosen up this collar, move this up, and I can use a measuring tool. So just bring this down just a little bit. Place lock collar on there, lock this in place. I loosen this up. And now I can go ahead and set to where when this collar touches the bottom of this steel, it's only going to go down a 1/2 inch. Okay? Now, the speed control. The speed is depending on how big the diameter is. The little rule of thumb is this. If you have something that's as small as a 3/8 bit, the RPM on this is relatively high. But if you happen to have a Forstner bit like this one, this is a 3-inch diameter Forstner bit. This bit, I'd want to run around 300 RPM, 400 RPM, really slow, okay? This drill bit, I can run at a significantly higher amount of RPM, okay? And that's how you know, as far as RPM settings should be. And we can get into detail as far as exactly what diameter and what speed it should be, but that's in a later video. But for this, just to kind of go over a general rule of thumb, if you have a large diameter, slow speed. Small diameter, higher speed, okay? So, I have this set up. I can maintain a 4-inch margin for safety. I can take the power, turn it back on, okay? I can bring my bit down to close to where it's going to start cutting. I can turn this on. Speed's a little high. Now I'm going to go ahead